Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast gives a fan's perspective on IndyCar and other forms of motorsport. Before we get started, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hello, Dan.
How are you?
I am awesome today. How are you?
I'm good. Because I've spent a lot of time with you today.
It's been a busy day for sure. Yeah,
It has.
Yep.
It has. Tim, we're wrapping up the 2022 season with a fantastic and really timely guest, wouldn't you say?
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Our guest is Sean Compton. And for those who don't know who Sean Compton is the president of networks for Nexstar Media. He has been in that role since November of 2020. And if you don't know what that means, and if you don't know why we're talking about that on an IndyCar podcast, it's because Nexstar owns the CW network, and the CW network will be the distribution partner for the upcoming series called 100 Days to Indy. Sean is responsible for the operations of News Nation, WGN Radio, Antenna TV, Rewind TV, and of course, Nexstar Programming Acquisitions. So, Tim, why don't we get into this interview with Sean, and then we'll come back here and we'll make some comments on it.
All right, let's do it.
Sean Compton, welcome to Turn 4, Sean.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here, guys.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited about getting winter over with so we can get into spring and get our TV show on the air.
Yes, I know. It's our last couple of episodes, right? It's a long off season, and then it's a long cold off season. So we definitely share the perspective on that. So we're excited to have you on here as well. Welcome to Turn 4. So we just kind of want to dive right in real quick, but real quick first question. Are you originally from the Indianapolis area?
Well, I was born in Indianapolis. I grew up in Connorsville between Indianapolis and Cincinnati, just east of Indianapolis, about 50 miles. My grandfather was in the agribusiness, owned grain elevators, and then my dad worked for him. And so I had a family of Indy season ticket holders for many years. My Uncle Meade, I think, saw 53 or 54 races over his lifetime. So I went to the race with him a handful of times. And my first race was in 1985.
Who was the winner? Do you remember? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
That was the Spin and Win. With Danny Sullivan.
Yeah,
and I was sitting in the Southwest Vista and pretty high up, and saw the Spin. And they, those two were neck and neck. It was an incredible race. And saw the Spin and saw the smoke. And I'm like, oh my God. I look at my dad. I said, they crashed. Number one and number two just crashed. And then we look down and there's no cars, because when you see it on TV, it's clear that he made it through it. But when you're watching in real time, it's so fast. You see the puff of smoke from the tires. And so, yeah, it was, perfect weather day, hot summer type of day. And it was just, it was my first race experience. Then my second race was in 1992, which was the coldest, longest, most horrible day to ever. I mean, it was, I think the high temperature was 44. It was Al Unser Jr. won. And it was, that was the close race. But remember, everyone, what driver was it that crashed in the pace lap? The
Roberto Guerrero.
Roberto Guerrero crashed on the pace lap. And so it was one of those races where you're like, can we get this thing over with now? Because it was the coldest race ever run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember watching that on TV. That was the first.
That was a better place to see it. Yeah, that was the only race that just was misery, because you didn't quite pack for a cold day. You just weren't quite ready for it.
End of May,
for sure.
Right? Yeah, and you're bundled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of years it's been super nice, 70s, 80s degrees. So to have that year, it was in the 50s, right? It was 50. It was overcast, and the tires weren't warm. And Roberto Guerrero spun on the pace lap. He was on pole too. It was so crazy. Definitely an experience.
I was excited to go. My uncle was notorious for calling me at the 11th hour, literally 11 o'clock at night. Hey, you want to go to the race tomorrow? Sure. So my Uncle Meade, who was a very odd guy, wonderful human being, but he calls me at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, Saturday night, says, hey, I got an extra I got a bunch of tickets for the race tomorrow. You want to bring some friends? I said, Uncle Mead, I'm not going to find anyone at midnight to go with me. So he invited his neighbors, and I said, where do you want me to meet you? He said, oh, just meet me at the gate. And I'm like, 400,000 people. You want me to meet you at the gate? I said, how about I just come to your house at 5 a.m.? But, you know, it's good memories, you know, and what I think I love about the Indy, not for me selfishly, is everyone has that, or a lot of people have that family story. It's, you know, grandparents, uncles, kids, brothers, sisters. It's just, there's a family component to that makes it so special.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a passion for the sport, right? Do your sons share that same passion for?
You know, my passions, I don't really follow the sport. I don't really follow any sport closely. What I love about the Indy league and what I love about the 500 is the tradition, B, the diversity. I mean, the drivers are, you know, you're trying to figure out what accent is that, South American, is that Australian, is that British, I mean, it's just how worldly it is, you know. I mean, I think in being from Indiana, you're very proud of that, you know, in that large diverse group coming together in the middle of really a cornfield, and what used to be a cornfield. And I think that's one of the things I love about it. And it's not tribal. You know, you're not rooting the Bengals versus, you know, I grew up a Bengals fan and a Colts fan. So I mean, who do I like the most? And you know, it's not tribal. You're rooting for a bunch of the drivers, if not all of them. Sure, you'll have your favorites in your back pocket. You know, a lot of us want to see Elio get the 5th one and be there to witness that, or you know, see some rookie pull it out, or, you know, Carpenter, one of the Hoosiers, pull it out, you know, for the first time in a long time. So that's you know, I'm excited that we get to tell that story on our new show. And we came up with the show concept. I took my 18-year-old back in May to the Indy 500 for the first time because I wanted to see his reaction through the eyes of a teenager who had grown up seeing the race on TV, never experiencing it in person. And I wanted to kind of see his reaction. And I went not as a fan to watch the race, I went to view the people. So we walked through the infield. I looked at and I went over to that snake pit area to look at the teenagers that were there hanging out. I took a good glance at the people in the stands. And, you know, the one thing I tell everyone who wants to be involved in the project, or that wanted to be involved in the project, I said, you need to watch, because you can't go there, but you need to watch the pre-race, because, you know, it is one moment in time that you have 350,000 people take their hats off for the 21 gun salute. They don't applaud at the end of taps until the trumpet's been, until he does the salute after he plays the trumpet. And you know, you also have a prayer. You have you know, God Bless America, or America the Beautiful, and then you have back home in Indiana, and it's just so emotional for people who are Americans. And there is no politics. There's no politics. There's no protesting. There's no fighting. It's just a patriotic day where Americans come together, and it's a special moment. And I think and to have that much respect shown by that many people in one group, you don't hear people saluting horns or yelling or screaming. You don't see people getting arrested. It's just a lot of people coming together for one event. And I just think it's very special, and I'm happy that we're going to get to showcase that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you say that, because Tim and I do go to other events, and we've been to other larger events. And it's always the first thing that strikes us when you take those events and backdrop that against the Indy 500 is the pageantry. There is nothing that comes close to the pageantry of the Indy 500.
Nothing.
Everything you get before that.
And Sean, as you were talking about that, I was getting goosebumps over here just thinking about it and being a part of that. It's all about, I think it's all about unity. It brings everybody together. no matter, who you are, where you come from. You've got the 350,000 people around the stadium, and it is just everybody coming together for that special moment. And it's on a great weekend, right? It's a weekend that we should be paying tribute to everything we are as a country and what we've done, and obviously the troops and everybody else. So it's very special.
Yeah,
As Dan mentioned, we've gone to many other events, and it's doesn't even come close.
they just do it right. It's just everything about it's right. And the backdrop of the longest, well, I don't know if it's the longest running auto race, is it? I mean, it's probably is. I don't know if Monaco was for it or not. I don't know the history there, but an event that goes over 100 years, and especially growing up in Indiana, I even have a passion for some of the old stickers on the cars, because in Connorsville they made a lot of car parts. They actually made the Cord was built in Connorsville. Parts for the Cord, or parts for the Duesenberg, were built in Connorsville. And so you have, and then my great uncle's family were the founders, and he's still alive. He's in his 90s. They were the founders and owners of Perfect Circle, and they were a big sponsor for the races in the 50s and 60s because they made a lot of auto parts. And so, the history there, and how, people don't understand the rear view mirror was invented at the Indy 500. And, so, I mean, the first driver said, I put someone else in the back seat with me. I'm a mechanic. I don't need a mechanic to ride with me. And it's going to add another 160 pounds. Yeah. So I'll fix my car, but I need a way to spot. And so he put in a rear view mirror, and boom, that's invented.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that. Tim, did you know that?
I don't think I knew that specifically, but
better look it up. But I'll tell you, it's a fact.
Yeah.
Better fact check me. I'm in the news business too, so you got to fact check me.
That's right. We'll do that for sure. But I think the Indy 500 is all about technology advancements, and innovation. And what you just talked about is innovation, right? I don't need another person in the car. I can put a mirror up and look what it's done as time sort of progresses, and how things shape up from a technology perspective. So there's a lot that happens unity wise, but there's also from a vehicle perspective and technology that, that's what the Indy 500 was built on. And that's what drew people in to come and see it.
Yeah.
After your son's first experience this past year, is he hooked? Do you think he's definitely?
Well, ironically, and this is just coincidental, he's going to Butler University. So he's in Indianapolis. He's got his Hoosier blood through me, even though he's never lived there, although now he's a resident through Butler. So yeah, he'll go again. He wants to definitely go again. And so we'll definitely take advantage of those great credentials and get him there.
My kids will kind of dabble in it, right? Like because it's been on their entire life, right? They've never gone a Sunday in the summertime. If I'm home, I'm watching IndyCar or, racing of some sort. So they have, I think, grown up with it. It's funny. My wife and I have been together 30 years, and she too, same thing. And she recognizes names. She knows drivers. She knows past owners, and she knows who that is. It's part of our family. It's part of what we do. I'm in the Detroit area, as is Tim, and the automotive industry is a big deal here. So it's kind of natural that we gravitate toward this level of motorsports and brand names with Chevy and
your neighbors with Roger Penske then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about the series that we're airing on CW, the 100 Days to Indy, with our Vice partnership, because it's going to showcase the drivers. And it'll be interesting to see people that watch it, how that translates to the races and the big race. And if you see any drivers kind of emerge, because they all have very interesting personalities, and you've got to be wicked smart. Or I take that back. You don't have to be wicked smart. You have to have amazing instincts to be a race car driver. It's like quarterbacks. The better the instincts, the better you're going to be. Hockey, the better the instincts, the better you're going to be. There are certain sports where your instincts have to be so spot on. And driving a car at 235 miles an hour, 3 inches from your next driver at the same speed, for 500 miles requires really good skill and amazing instincts. So all these guys have interesting personalities and ladies. I think that we're going to be able to showcase that. And I'm pumped about that because you're going to see, no pun intended, you're going to see under the hood of what these personalities are like and who they are, not just someone mentioned on race day, in the pole position.
Did IndyCar come to you, or did IndyCar go to Vice and say, "Hey, we've got this idea, we'd like to do this"?
So Indy's had a lot of opportunities for things. They're smart, they're very strategic. You don't just pick anything just to get the exposure. It's every decision's made with a certain level of precision and what we want to accomplish. They were looking to do something in this realm, but they wanted to have the right partner. I know they were talking to some other folks. And then I got in the mix with them, and the difference between the other folks and the difference between me is I had just been there. And if you want to do any program or product, you have the upper hand when you have the passion for it. Mm-hmm. So the Vice folks had some history and some knowledge. The producers were really good producers that are part of this project. I, of course, had the passion for it. Plus, we have the distribution. We were, just bought the CW. Well, we were buying the CW network when we started talking to them, and now own it. And it's just a perfect outlet for them because it's available in all homes. If you don't have cable, you get over-the-air television, and that's where the broadcast component comes in. And then Vice also is a great partner because they're good producers, demo friendly, and they have international distribution. So this will be seen worldwide. It won't just be, it'll be here first with the domestic airing on CW, but it'll air worldwide as well. So that's what made Indy say, "Hey, we're in." I got to know Mark Miles through a mutual friend of ours. I just reached out and said, "Hey, we're interested in doing this," and they were so great to work with. It was almost like the perfect marriage of the three partners in this deal.
Are all the teams and drivers signed and expected to participate?
I don't know the details of that. The Indy League, I will tell you that I got the benefit of being in the driver meeting. Wish I'd been there in person because Will Power was going to give me some laps in the pace car. But I just too busy here in Chicago, so I couldn't go down, but I did a Zoom with them, and the excitement for it. Look, it's a sport that, there's a lot of sports out there. And there's a lot of competition for eyeballs and butts and seats. And at the end of the day, they could tell that, we're not looking to sensationalize their sport or, we just want to expose it. We want to give them the proper exposure and let the world get to know the Indy Racing League. And for me, it's about generating interest and ad dollars for my business, and for them, they have a business to operate. Mm-hmm. But when you can mix that with the passion, it makes it so much better.
For sure. Patrick Diamond is the director of the series.
Yes,
6 parts, right?
Yes.
What we're looking at.
Yeah. So the first season, assuming everything goes well, it'll be 6, and then we're also Nexstar, our company, through News Nation, a little film division that we created. The other thing that fascinates me is the buildup to the track. So what we're doing is producing a 1-hour documentary that'll air either on the CW or on News Nation right before the race. I'm just fascinated that there are concessions. There are toilets that work 8 hours a year. I mean, there are concessions that are closed for 364 days of the year. And I said, guys, the mailing of 150,000 season tickets that go out in the blue envelopes in February. I'm like, you don't just drop those in the mailbox. Like, trucks come in a caravan and pick up all that mail. I'm fascinated by what it takes to put on the world's largest one-day event.
Mhm.
And so we're doing a documentary on that to be shoulder programming to the CW series.
So it's like the lead up to the Indy 500 and what really takes place to make all
Yeah.
this ready and to happen.
I mean, we're taping this right before Christmas, right? We're getting a snowstorm in the next 72 hours, 48 hours. Imagine seeing the track covered in snow.
Yeah.
And you know why the track doesn't have any potholes? They never put salt on it and they never shovel it.
That's right.
So
Leave
the
it alone.
track, if there's a foot of snow on the ground, it's on the track until it melts naturally. So yeah, it's I'm just fascinated by that. So we're gonna do a shoulder programming with that.
It's funny. I'll tell you a little thing here. And I don't think we've ever told our listeners this. So I ordered tickets. We had 3 groups that went to the 500 last year. My family, Tim's, and another couple that came with us. So I had ordered the tickets, and I just said no, just digital delivery. Right? I get digital delivery for baseball. I get digital delivery for football or whatever it is. Big Ten championship, right? Was Big Ten delivery or was digital delivery? And Tim kept saying, "We're not getting the tickets. No, digital delivery. I'll send them to you when we get them. We're not getting the tickets. No." And then I saw this thing about the blue envelopes, and somebody was signing them, right? Like Scott Dixon or Alexander Rossi or something.
No, that's like having the Willy Wonka ticket, man.
Exactly.
You gotta
I called my guy back and I said, "Look, I made a massive error here in not getting these tickets." And he said, "Yeah, I'll send them to you." So he did. He picked up right on it. He knew right away, but he wasn't going to talk me out of it.
And of course, Elio was on it because it was his 4th win. And I'm like, why would you not get the physical tickets so we can have them and go through the process? So now we have them.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes. No, it's another tradition that continues.
So when do you start taping for the series? Does that happen before St. Pete? Are you guys going to
it's
testing?
The Vice folks are all over that. I don't get overly involved. I know that yes, they're going to start filming shortly. They've been interviewing a lot of the drivers to kind of get their rhythm down and their schedules and getting to know them, because they're going to start following a lot of them. The nice thing is each episode is an hour, so it's going to be 44 minutes in runtime. Okay. So it's not a half hour is probably a little too short when you only have 6 episodes. I think it's timed out right. So yeah, they'll start filming. It's basically following the drivers to the Indy, and the last episode airs right after the race. So you'll have a week later, the big day.
And these are.
Do you guys have a start date? Go ahead, Dan.
These are going to come out in CW, right? On
1 week. Yes. Weeks. Most likely a Thursday night, but I have seen the schedule, but the head of scheduling and programming would probably shoot me if I gave you the actual dates, because he probably hasn't released it yet. So I don't want to step on his toes and make an enemy there. So, but it'll start in April. It'll start in late April.
Okay.
Wow. That's really like putting it together as it happens, right?
Yeah. It's a really quick production turnaround. Very quick production turnaround.
Who gets? Does Vice have the final say in the edits, or does IndyCar have a check?
I don't know how that's written. Normally it's a partnership where, we give creative notes. Vice will make some tweaks on that. Indy's very involved. They own, it's their franchise. Sure. I don't know how. I think really in my history, and I think Mark Miles's history, you just hired good producers to produce. Sure. I mean, you bet on them. You get the best people, and Morgan Hertzen at Vice is really good, and Patrick that he's got. So, I think we let them do it, and there's not going to be much time for edits. So we'll probably all kind of agree on a format, and they'll be off to the races.
So getting close to wrap up, again, thank you for the time, but I do want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about CW, because I think this is part of what maybe some of our listeners and maybe some of the IndyCar fans might be missing. You talked about it briefly, the reach, the audience, the amount of people that CW blankets, and why this is this great idea.
Everyone listening to this, has access to the CW if you've got a television set. So the CW is the fifth network. It's a broadcast network. In Middle America, it's on what used to be 30 years ago independent stations, and now it's its own network on those stations. In New York, LA, Chicago, I don't know, LA, it's KTLA, Channel 5, the biggest station in the market. So CW has a tremendous reach. You don't have to have a subscription to get it. And it's much like when you watch, football, unless it's the Thursday night game with Amazon, which you have to pay a premium for. Football is available for free over the air. Many NBA games are. The Indy 500 is available over NBC. So the CW is a broadcast network that's available in all the homes, and you can find your local affiliate just by, Googling it. Google your hometown and type in CW network, and you'll see which over-the-air television station it is if you don't know already.
And is it primarily U.S. based, or is there a Canadian affiliate or a Mexican?
No, it's U.S. based. All international distribution Vice would be handling. I'm sure they've got Canadian reach. I know they've got a lot of reach over in Europe. So it will be available around the world on through the Vice reaches. Now, the CW also has an app, CW.com,
Yes.
and we'll make the episodes available on there, just like they are on the air. So if you miss the broadcast, whatever night, I'm guessing Thursday night, but if you miss that and you realize it's, Saturday morning and you've got time to watch it, you can go to the app and watch it there. So if you didn't DVR it, you can catch it on the CW app.
See, and that's checking all the boxes, right? Because
and the CW app's on all the smart TVs, all the new smart TVs. If you've got a TV made in the last, several years, just go on to your apps, download it on the TV, or it's available on your phone. So, do it that way, and you'll have access to it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of content on that app, so you may find other things you love besides just the series.
For sure. It checks the boxes in terms of the way people consume content today, right? I want it when I want it now. I may not need it Thursday at 8 or whatever, right? So it definitely checks the boxes. That's all I got. Timmy, you?
I don't have anything else. Sean, I appreciate you coming out and
thank you for your interest, and I'm excited to see the show just like you guys, and I hope all your fans will love it, and send along their comments, and we're looking forward to a long run here, I hope.
Hey, we'll put this at the end because we can edit it if we need to, but who's your favorite driver?
Put
you on the spot, I'm sorry.
I'm old school, so I would love to see Graham Rahal win, his dad. And I love any of the guys from, love the guys from Indiana. You got a couple, you had 2 or 3 drivers from Indiana in there. I'm mixed about whether I want to see Elio win a 5th one or not. Like, there's something to be said about having all these guys who have 4. I couldn't believe someone would pass Mears and AJ Foyt, but I think that would be great too. I think that would be a really cool. I was there in 2005 when Danica was leading, which was really cool to be there to see the first woman lead a lap at the Indianapolis 500. So I got to be honest, I root for all of them. That's again another reason why I love it. You don't really feel like you're losing. Your team's not losing. I went to the Super Bowl and watched the Bengals lose, and I had the greatest weekend ever until the Bengals lost, and I wanted to go home and I was crying. And that's the thing. You leave the track and you just feel good. You love seeing those tulips, in the wreath wrapped around the driver at the end, no matter who it is.
I'm with you. I don't care who it is. I mean, I obviously have personalities that I love to see on TV, and that
just makes it better. That just makes it better. But
I don't care who wins. Like, I look at it like this is just an amazing accomplishment, and whoever gets to stand there, cover themselves in milk and put that wreath on them, good on them. They deserve it. So,
well, thank you guys. It was nice seeing you.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right.
The first thing that I want to say about this up front is Sean was an important guest, mainly because I think a lot of what we have heard recently has been, in regard to this series was why CW, right? Why the CW network, and what's the CW network? And I
Yeah.
just want to talk a little bit about that. So CW, as you heard, is available everywhere. In fact, it's 98% of households. You don't need to pay for anything to get CW programming. You don't even need a fancy updated TV to get CW. CW is available over the air wherever you live, and it could be through something as simple as an $8 pair of rabbit ears, from somewhere hooked up to your TV. In addition to that, CW does cater to a much younger audience. Some of their programming goes.
Yeah. And I also heard if you have the app, you can just go to the app, watch the show at your leisure. So it's on demand and any time. And if you do, I know you don't need an updated TV, but if you have an updated TV, you can get the app right on your TV and stream right through your TV anytime. So I think we heard that, the show is going to launch in April. But you can get it anytime, anywhere, as long as you have access to a TV or even your mobile device.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense that it's on CW. And it was great that Sean, shared his insights of what was going on and, how that all sort of transpired and where they're at today.
Yeah. And we made the point too, when we were talking to Sean, was part of the importance of that is how people consume media today, how they consume their content today. They want it at their leisure, as opposed to, oh man, I'm going to make it sound old. I'm going to go with this white beard for those of us watching on YouTube. But we watched, right? We watched Knight Rider because it was on Thursday nights at 8:00 or whatever it was, right? We didn't have the option of DVRing it. We didn't have the option of just catching up on it or letting all the episodes come out and then we would binge watch it or whatever at the end of the season. We didn't have that option. Yep. So at least the fact that CW has a really good app and they've got, the streaming service, that they would give you some options. So as the younger audience gets ready to consume this particular content, they can do it at their leisure.
Yeah.
So again, back to, the Twitter backlash. Why not Peacock? I don't know why not Peacock, but I will give you what I would think why not Peacock is, first of all, Peacock can't say any of that. They're not in 98% of households. And that's fine. It's not the intention of Peacock. And I want to say that Peacock would be essentially speaking to many of the same people. It would just be screaming into an echo chamber, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense, right? Because people that are watching it today are on Peacock, and they're on Peacock to watch IndyCar. So you got the same audience, the same people looking at it. So it makes sense to go with a different network. And CW, as you mentioned, in almost every household, so you have access to it.
Drive to Survive wasn't put out on Sky Sports, which
Great
would have
point.
been the same people, right?
Yep.
Now again, not apples to apples. It's a paid streaming service, but that's where they wound up, and they found an audience there, and we know that they found a significant audience there. So it makes sense to try to broaden the footprint, try to bring the series and what the series brings to a motorsports fan, and try to find a little bit more diversity in terms of who they're speaking to and who they're catering, or who they're trying to draw into the series. And I'll say this too, Peacock and NBC are certainly a great partner. I think for the first time in a very long time, we see a lot of IndyCar races that are broadcast on NBC. And with Peacock supplementing what is happening on NBC, you've got an advantage, especially for somebody like you and I, who wants to see the practice rounds, who wants to see the qualifying rounds.
Yeah.
Where really, unless we're talking about the Indy 500, we're not getting that.
Yeah, that is true.
On TV.
Absolutely true.
So Peacock gives you the opportunity, to bolster the series. I'm not taking anything away from them. Was that probably the natural partner? I don't know. Is that somebody that IndyCar went to or anything? I don't know. But nonetheless, I mean, that helps bring a little bit more in terms of my eyes, a little bit more closure as to why CW, I think, is a good approach for this. And, obviously once these things come out, we'll know whether that approach works.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Vice Media who is producing this series. As I mentioned, CW is the distribution partner. And Vice is a strong partner for this in that they understand a younger audience. And I don't want to go into a lot of that here, but if you go in and Google search your Vice Media and see what they produce and the kind of content that they're involved in, you can see this is a pretty modern media company.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that what we heard was that Vice Media has reached outside of the United States to get this program out to other countries. So
that's right.
I'd love to understand more of what that looks like, but at the same time, there is that potential there. And so that'll be good for continued growth, not just within the States, but outside of the States.
That's right. That's right. Sean mentioned that filming will likely be in April, and there'll be 6 shows in total, 5 leading up to the 500, with 1 show taking place after the 500, which I think is pretty cool, right? Because it actually is going to be the full deal. It's going to be the run up to the 500, and then it's going to give you the post 500 view of this thing. The fact that it sounds like the teams and drivers are all involved with this, and they're going to showcase the personalities. Sean said that. And I think that that's something that you have to do. We talked about marketing in our last episode. We talked a lot about the marketing in our last episode. And I think part of that appeal of marketing IndyCar is not just advertising or trying to promote the Indy 500, but trying to promote the guys in the helmets, right? That's kind of a disadvantage to something like basketball, right? They've got a helmet on. You don't really get the chance to see them unless you're as involved or unless you're watching the series at the rate that you and I are consuming it, or most of the IndyCar faithful are consuming it, because you don't see it. But if you consider somebody like Elio Castroneves, who won Dancing with the Stars, that exposed Elio and the series to a degree to a much different audience, right?
For sure.
James Hinchcliffe finished second in Dancing with the Stars, and he was proud of it, right? Because when we spoke to him, I said, "Hey, my daughter told me not to say this to you," and he was like, "No, say it. I'm proud of it," right? That too exposed a different, audience to IndyCar at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, how do you take those? I call those limited exposures, just because it's, on a show and the person watched the show and they don't go beyond that. But if they hear of another show that somebody that they've seen before is on it, and you can get their personality, how do you continue to build upon that to get them to actually tune into a race?
Yeah.
And I think this series will help some of that too.
The other piece that I was very much encouraged on was the fact that because of this compressed timeline, in order to put out these six episodes, there's not going to be a lot of scripting here. So it really is going to be what I would hope would be a very raw look at what takes place in the lead up to the biggest race in open wheel, in American open wheel racing.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It'll be great.
Yeah. I expect to see these drivers' personalities, don't you?
I do too. And I think they've already said they've already started talking to some of them and been on different calls with some of the drivers, just to understand the drivers a little bit better. So that way, when they do, the recording, they get the raw sort of aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm thrilled that we were able to bring that together. Thank you, Tim, for being able to pull that guest appearance together. That was really fantastic.
And, you're welcome. Hopefully the fans enjoy it.
Yeah,
that was the point of having Sean on, and I think he obviously had some great insight, and we look forward to bringing other interviews as the off season continues.
That's right. The long off season. We still got a few months, Tim, before St. Pete.
But I think this is our last episode before the new year, right?
It is. This will be. So yep, this will be. This one's off sequence, but it will be our last one until 2023.
Yeah, we're signing off for the year.
That's right.
Think of that. Yeah. A full year under our belt in one calendar year, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, because we started in June of 2021. Right? With Road America was our first episode, which was a mess. Have you ever gone back and listened to that thing?
No. I might have to do that though.
No,
Should we
if you
take it
really
down or
want
leave
to,
it
if
up?
you really want to treat for the worst episode, go to St. Louis 2021.
Put the one by yourself.
Gateway.
Is that what you're
Gateway.
saying?
So that's it. Hey, happy holidays, to you and yours, everybody. Hope everyone has a happy and safe holiday. Look forward to catching up with you in the new year. Please continue to engage with us on social media. Reach out to us on our YouTube channel, on our Twitter handle. Send us an email, however you like to engage with us on there. We appreciate all of what you send in, good or bad, whatever it is. We're still growing. We're still, learning in our roles here after 53 episodes. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's all I got, Tim.
I don't have anything else. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.